invited Shannon, your spend orchestration leader here. Welcome, Shannon. Hi, how are you doing?
Fun. It's great to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I know Ward had shared some kind of ideas of what changed from 2020 to 2030. But how did your team change?
Yeah, first of all, I have this role that didn't exist in the past. And what happens now is if I look at where we had before kind of high volume, low value workers, that's all been replaced by technology. So instead, I manage a hybrid team of AI agents and people. My people are more strategic, and my agents handle that tactical workload that people used to have to do in the past. One thing that I'm surprised about is that when we thought of the future, we kind of thought of HAL taking over the world. Instead, I have multiple agents that work for me now, and I didn't know there'd be so many agents. In the 20s, it was all about intake and orchestration. Well, now I have an intake triage agent who will actually read emails or grab a Slack message and then determine what to do with that request. They might fire off a PO if it's ready to go, or decide, hey, maybe this is something that I should actually get bids for or create a sourcing strategy. And if that's the case, it gets handed off to a sourcing co-pilot who will actually do supplier discovery, maybe figure out a bidding strategy, even create a draft. And then that's handed back over to my sourcing person who will actually do that, review it, send information back. It's a back and forth. So by the time my people get involved, a lot of that hard work's already been done.
Wow, it sounds like a lot of team management, and not only just orchestration, but orchestration interaction between your human workers and your AI agents. So how do you manage that? How do you do that?
Yeah, AI team management is definitely different than people management. First, I don't have to worry about hurting their feelings. Not that I do that to my people either, and I do say thank you. I still think that's always nice and polite to do. But with my AI agents, I actually work a lot on what are the boundaries in which they need to interact in? What's the data they should be using? What are they integrating to? And I'm really trying to create guidelines for them to follow. What's really important that I do now is just like I have people reviews, I actually have agent reviews. So we go back and we look to see what's the decision-making process that's occurred. Has it been drifting during time? And I'm going back and recalibrating what they're doing. I'm also ensuring that everything is transparent. So I spend a lot of time with agents reviewing their output, making sure they're correct, and then aligning them to stay on path. Because agents can't read the room. They don't know when the strategy has evolved or changed. So it's my job to keep them in line with what's going on.
So what tasks did you no longer do? Is there something kind of fall off your plate completely with this new world in 2030? What are not tasks that are no longer required a human touch?
Yeah, I will say I used to be kind of an Excel jockey and PowerPoint princess. I would spend so much time pulling data together and analyzing that data and making it look pretty to be able to share with other folks. I don't have to do a lot of that now. A lot of that just took so much time that I even missed out that analysis process. So a lot of that classic procurement busy work is gone. Suppliers are probably one of my favorite examples of it. With suppliers, I actually have a supplier risk agent that is constantly monitoring kind of supplier sentiment that's going on, news, financial information. They flag risks to me. And then I think for all the times of supplier portals, I mean, how long have we been trying to get suppliers to use portals to kind of like log in and load information or respond to their requests? Now there's a supplier's agent on their side that interacts with my supplier agent, and they handle 80% of the issues. So if there are invoices on hold or something in dispute, they can handle it. Where I do get involved, though, is anything that has the whiff of risk. So we know fraud is rampant more than ever in the past. So if I see something like a request for payment term changes or bank account details, then as a human, I get involved to make sure that that's happening. And I interact with another human on the other side because we don't want agents to be doing all of that on their own.
That's super interesting. Yeah. So you mentioned like risk, and as supply risk professionals, we're all about scenario planning to enable our decisions. How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, that's actually it. I have a scenario planning agent that actually does this work for me.
Wow.
I know, perfect. But what they can do is they're great at gathering information. What I need to do is ask them the right questions. So if I ask, hey, what's going to happen if steel goes up 15%? It will go out and monitor what's going on in commodities and kind of create these different scenarios for me. What AI is really good at is kind of responding to those answers to the questions that I ask, but it doesn't always provide alternatives. So it's up for me to be creative in my thinking and realize what should happen next. But the agent can go out and give me the results of my questions. It's still up to me and my team to understand, is this appropriate? What risks should we take? Again, I don't execute automatically. It's a lot about asking the right question.
Yeah. So I know we talked a lot about kind of agents and automation and Rain's colleagues, but so what about us? What about the humans? How do you work with us now? How do you interact? How do you manage and lead us now in this new world?
Yeah, my humans are more important than ever. You know, I love agents. I love Rain. She's great. She keeps us in line, keeps us focused sometimes, but my people actually really have the ethical understanding of what should be happening. They understand corporate strategy. They work with Ward. They work with our team to keep everybody in line. With the agents, they can again recommend an outcome, but it's up for my humans to be critical in their thinking. You know, Rain might say, you know what, we really shouldn't use this supplier anymore. But my people will say, actually, there's a long-term strategic relationship here, or it might align with a larger strategy. So for me, I'm really still guiding my team on how to grow. I'm not telling them to take an Excel course and again, create a prettier presentation, but I'm teaching them how to communicate. I'm teaching them how to listen, make sure that they're getting stakeholder input and they're really learning to communicate with the rest of the organization. And these agents are there, they're going to always provide value, but my people are still deciding what's right.